Hi guys, it's me, Jenna from the White Witch Parlor, and after I've gone through a year of transformation and actually many years of spiritual growth and transforming my craft and my passion for the craft and my business and all these fun, exciting things that lead to spiritual growth and all the dark stuff that goes with it, I wanted to basically come to a point in my life where I can declutter all this stuff and really come back to the basics and the basics of what my spiritual journey has been, my spiritual growth, and what got me there, what witchcraft or witchery showed me in my journey and how it helped me grow tremendously once I got past the fear of the fact that it could be evil or scary or anything like that. I realized it was all about the journey of self, and it had nothing to do necessarily with demons or conjuring darkness or casting evil spells upon your enemies. It was more so me finding me and finding my voice, and it's a long journey that never ends, and we constantly grow from this journey. And you might get to a point where you feel like you know it all. You feel like you know too much about everything on the subject, or too much about the witchcraft subject in general, or too much about crystals or meditation, but the truth is you don't. And when you take a step back, observe and analyze like a hawk in the sky, you will see the bigger picture, and you will see that you've only really touched the tip of the iceberg with that. And so with that said, with me right now in my journey, I personally am taking a step back to really analyze my life, my journey, my growth, and kind of go back to the basics and really revisit things that perhaps I've let go of or haven't focused much attention on in the past few years. Becoming a mom was a huge shift in energy for me as well, and I dedicated so much of my time and energy to being a mom, and I still am a mom full time. And I realize sometimes you lose yourself in your day-to-day life, and running a business, taking care of a little one, it's a lot. It's a tall order not everyone can do. And even if you're working a job and you just have things in your family that you're taking care of handling, you can lose yourself in those things as well, and you lose your craft. And your craft does not have to pertain to witchery. It could be just that routine that you developed when you were in a good vibe of doing your consistent yoga and your meditation rituals, and just scheduling time for yourself and your spiritual growth, not just entertainment and fun, but actually taking time to go within and focusing on who you are, who you've become, and where you're headed. And that's why it's so important for us to check back in with ourselves and really come back to the basics of how we even started on the spiritual path, what started our spiritual awakening, what encouraged us to move forth on it, and what really caught our eye at the beginning of that really transformational time in your life when you realized you were on a new spiritual path and growth. For me, a lot of it was crystals. It started catching my eye. It started catching my fascination. I became very curious about these crystals that I was coming across and what each of them meant and why they all meant different things and what tied those energies to those things, and how were we so sure certain stones emitted certain frequencies, and how we knew amethyst was so tied to psychic and intuition energy, and how moonstone was tied to that calming flow energy. And it was something that for me, I dove head in, and I really wanted to learn and grasp all that I could with all the stones and all the major stones that kept falling into my life, like amber and labradorite and amethyst and moonstone. Those were all the ones that just kept popping up to me for about a year, and I dove into that world, and that kind of helped me transcend and step deeper into a deeper spiritual growth. And that is when I started meditating more. I started meditating with crystals. I started really diving into what candle magic was, and how sitting with an intention and just lighting a flame really helped to allow me to embody what it was that I was trying to grow into, what kind of person I was working towards becoming, and how I was trying to better myself, my life, my situation, and just grow spiritually. So through all those journeys, I found myself meditating quite a lot. And at the time I had moved up to the mountains, I was surrounded by trees. It felt so healing moving away from the city, being able to really enjoy nature for what it was, the rawness of it, the realness of it, and just feeling like I was really working with the trees, listening to the trees and letting them heal me truly. Meditating under them frequently, daily, weekly, really helped to shift me. And soon after, I started the Vipassana 10-day meditation retreat course that really transformed me, and I realized I could really do some wild things through meditative healing. Coming out of that meditative journey, I continued forth with it. I started doing, yoga and all the spiritual things, all the witchy things, and it was really me learning to dive into the basics. It was learning more of what it was to sit and read self-help books and actually apply the knowledge that I was obtaining. It was waking up before the sunrise to start a healthy routine. It was really just working again with those basics, learning how to mother new plants, learning how to have that green thumb and connect with nature, understanding what it was to cook with intention and be mindful of the foods I was consuming and the things I was consuming around my body and my daily life. It was making an active practice to journal and be mindful of my dreams upon waking, being very intentful with the water I was drinking and blessing it by holding the glass in my hands and just taking a moment to thank the water and change it on a molecular level, because we can do these things. We have these powers, and it was just finding those really small things that I did consistently, which is the key, that really helped to propel me and basically give me a timeline shift in my reality. I basically jumped into the next level version of myself. I made myself step into the reality that I was craving, and in such a short time, and I was able to sustain it because I kept that consistency of these routines and rituals that I was doing. By diving headfirst into the basics, I was able to transform immensely. And when we get lost in it, sometimes these things become irrelevant to us in our journey. We get so lost in maybe troubled times or confusing times in our life, or just when we have too much on our plate, we lose sight of those really beautiful, simple acts that we tend to do in our daily rituals. So this little video is basically a reminder to check in with yourself and go back to the basics. Declutter your life. Get rid of the clutter that's possibly consuming you and keeping you from doing stuff. Get back to the basics of perhaps making a simple altar. Perhaps you've lost sight of that. I know I have. I don't make altars like I used to when I first started my path. I used to make a complete altar every week. I used to set it up, set an intention, and get very in depth with it. And I would do it all within just this course of an hour and sit with it and meditate and everything. And with motherhood and all the things that come with it, I just didn't do it as frequently as I once did when I was younger. So simple things like that, or taking that moment to read a book or journal, it's very important and crucial to stay in touch with those things that got you to that really high vibrational point in your life. And it's important, if you lose sight of that, to journal the things that you're feeling, the things that are inspiring you when you are in a really high vibe state in your life, when you feel you're at your peak health, when you feel like you have a healthy routine, things are going right and going your way, you're attracting abundance in all ways, and you're attracting nothing but just love and light energy. When you are in that state, journal it. Journal your routine, journal what you're doing, or maybe make a video to yourself to tell you what steps you're doing. What is it that you are proactively taking on every day to make your life in that full abundant state, in your highest vibe form? And that way, if you ever lose sight, you can revisit those journals, or you can revisit the video that you make to yourself, so that you can never really truly lose sight of it. You will get lost sometimes in your life, but you can always stop, take a step back, and reevaluate. and jump right back into it, which is really nice. If you don't do that, you will lose sight, and then you will say, what's happening? I don't know how to come back to what I was at one point when I was at that peak in my life, when everything was great. I felt good, I felt happy, things were falling into place effortlessly. You have to have that point to kind of tie you back in. Maybe it's also a meditative mantra that you can recite to kind of pull back and harvest back that energy that you had that was once so high vibe. Write down a list today of the things that you remember doing when you first started your spiritual awakening journey. What were the basics that you were doing? Whether it's witchcraft, spiritualism, anything. Whatever it was, even if it's religious, if you were saying daily prayers, if you were physically and proactively blessing your food before you ate it, or blessing your water, what was it that you were doing at that peak moment in your life when you were at this point where you felt the happiest and most abundant? You'll notice too, during that point in your life, that's when you felt the most handsome, the most prettiest. You felt good about who you were. You knew you were projecting positive energy and you were getting it back tenfold. Those things need to be listed so you can revisit them frequently and start checking back in every month and make it a point to do it so you can stay in that really high vibe mentality. And this all ties back to going back to the basics. The things we acquire over time with our practices, we start to acquire kind of a lot of the material stuff that goes with it. Maybe it's, you know, certain candles or certain jewelry, stuff like that. Maybe go through and declutter that and give it to friends or family members that might actually benefit from it better now than you, because maybe perhaps you're not using it, like a certain amethyst necklace you might have that you just don't wear anymore that you wore at the beginning of your journey. Or try starting over and wearing that amethyst necklace again, or whatever it is, whatever piece of item of material goods that used to help you kind of stay in alignment with that high spiritual vibe. If not, if you find it's collecting dust, that's also collecting an energy of stagnation. So give it to a friend or family or a loved one that might benefit from it. And you'll see that also giving it away will also make room for more. So whatever you are doing in your current path, this is a great reminder, and it was something that I channeled in my meditation as I myself am getting back into my own spiritual groove, that we need to come back to the basics. And whatever that might mean for you, if it's decluttering your life and physically just taking an entire weekend, week, or month to declutter your closets, declutter just stuff that you've accumulated over the years that's collecting dust, and just go back to minimalism and start over, start fresh. It's like a new beginning, and if you do this right at the peak of that shift between winter and spring, it's when newness is growing, and you have new life forming under earth, forming in this darkness. As we have darkness in winter, comes into new life. This is a seed. Start planting those seeds of intention, start shifting, start growing and coming back into you, because it's through you growing and shifting and living your life that you help others in return. I hope you guys enjoy this video. I hope it brought you some inspiration, and I have many more videos on the way, so subscribe for more. I love you all so very much. Have a beautiful and blessed day. Bye.